Okay, you ready? You guys sit. You gonna be in the video with me? You can say hi? Who is that? Who's that pretty girl? Can you get like your butt out of the camera? Thanks. Yeah, just lay down. Good girl. Thank you. I love you. Okay, so where do I begin? This video, I've been wanting to do this video for a very long time. I have been going back and forth with either making a video with Joe here for us to make it together, making just like an audio clip of me explaining everything, or just like typing something out. I've just been very, very back and forth with it. But I've realized that a big part of why I have been back and forth with it is because obviously I've gone through a very traumatic experience. It's been a lot to mentally process. It's been a lot to physically take in, obviously. I realized that I haven't done a full explanation from like start to finish. I haven't done like an actual diagnosis conversation with anybody really. I got my breast cancer diagnosis and that's just what it was. It was just, hey, everybody have breast cancer. This was going to happen. I never really stopped to explain the history of it and how I got here. And I think that's really important. But I realized it's my story to tell. I wanted Joe here just kind of so that he can give his point of view and his side of things, which we will, I'm sure, eventually have a side-by-side conversation together, and I'm sure we will get to that point. I finally just decided that I want to do this, at least this part of it, alone with Belle by my side. She's my little emotional support baby. I mean, not really, but really. And then I also, for a long time, kept saying I need to take notes and to give an exact outline. I need to write something out, like script it, so that way I know exactly what to say. But every time I would sit and try to do that, I'd kind of like would freak myself out, and I kind of would change my mind on a lot of things. You know, a big part of me was like, I really don't want to share. A big part of me was like, no, it's important for me to share. I know this is the story that I want to share, especially for awareness. So I'm going to go all the way back to, oh, and my voice is like halfway gone because it was a very busy weekend and we had a very big playoffs and championship game on Saturday for Joe, for Monkey. Which he did win. We are the champs, so very excited for that. That's a whole nother video to talk about because it's been a ride, but it's been great. Anyways, so my voice is gone still from Saturday. So anyways, I want to start off from the very beginning. So for me, my experience with my breast cancer diagnosis, this is how it all started. I'm going all the way back to March of 2018 because that is when I started to notice that I was having some nipple discharge. In fact, it started happening maybe January, February of 2018. I have really bad skin. I've always had really bad acne, even body acne in my chest, on my back. And so on my bras, what I first started to realize was that there was like little spots on my bras. And at first I was like, oh, I probably had a pimple or something on my chest. Didn't think anything of it. And then that happened for a few weeks. Like I said, it probably started January, February. But then in March, I remember sitting in our kids' bedroom because we were doing a whole makeover in their bedroom. And it was just me and Joe. We had bought them brand new beds and we were putting them together. The kids were in California that whole entire week because it was their spring break. So they were spending the week with Grandma and Grandpa. And so Joe and I were doing a whole remodel of their bedroom. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in the middle of their bedroom while Joe was building their new beds, and you know, I was in charge of handing him the parts and the tools or whatever, when felt wet in my bra, like on my boob. It just started to feel wet, and I was like, what the heck? That's weird. Do I have a pimple? And I'll never forget when I looked into my shirt and my skin was completely clear on my boob. And I was like, where is this wetness coming from? Like, it can't be coming from my nipple. Something told me to squeeze my boob and, you know, squeeze my nipple. And sure enough, it just leaked. And it was kind of like a clear fluid. And it was just kind of a very slow, like dribble. Just a few, you know, dots came out. And I was like, whoa, that is so weird. And I was like, what the heck is this? Is this where I'm getting the spots on my bra? Because up to this point, I never in a million years would have thought that I was having some nipple discharge. So I thought that was kind of weird, and I right away called my doctor, made an appointment for a breast exam. She didn't feel anything at all, but she did send me to get a mammogram done and an ultrasound done. And those were done in, I think the same month, March or maybe April of 2018. Those came back clear. There was no concerns at all whatsoever with those. So I was like, cool, like I'm glad nothing, it's probably just hormones or something. I don't know. So they did tell me that it could just be like one of those like sebaceous cysts that it was just draining, because mammogram and ultrasound came back clear. And I don't have any history or family history of breast cancer. There was just no other signs or no other concerns about it. So I went on with my life. That was 2018. Went on with my life. The nipple discharge would stop periodically, and I would go months with having no signs of nipple discharge. And then all of a sudden I'll start to notice the little dots again in my bra, and I'm like, oh dang. And then that would last a few weeks. I could go, you know, just a few days, like every other day I would be washing my bras and I could see that there was little dots, and then I could go 2 weeks with no signs of nipple discharge. It was not consistent at all. It was very inconsistent. Fast forward to July of 2021, so just last year. The nipple discharge started to become very dark. It was like a burgundy color, like because for the longest time it was just clear. And then now I noticed that it changed colors. And I will never forget, we were at IKEA in Tempe, Arizona, and walking around, just, you know, what you do at IKEA. So we were probably there 5 minutes when I started to feel a very rough, like, pinch. Literally felt like someone just pinched me from the inside, to where I was like, oh, like it made me jerk. And I was like, what the heck? There again, the nipple discharge was starting to become darker. I had noticed it for a couple weeks, not like months or anything, but for like a couple weeks. And then I felt this pinch, and I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, the nipple discharge never really went away. But I don't know, like, it's kind of weird. And that night, so the whole time we walked around IKEA, I kept feeling it. Every 15 minutes, I would feel like a pinch, just a very quick pinch, and then it would just go away. And but it was like every 15 minutes I was feeling it. So by the time we finally left, my anxiety had kind of gotten the best of me, and I was a little freaked out about it. And I kept pressing all on my boob and my armpits and all around here, and I couldn't feel anything. And then we got home, and I was sitting on the couch. We were watching TV, and I again was still feeling the pinching sensation. As I'm feeling around, I start to press down like on my nipple, and that's when I kind of felt, I can't necessarily say it was a bump. It wasn't a bump, but it felt a little hard. Like it just felt I mean, it was breast tissue, and it was just, the breast tissue just felt a little firm. That's how, the best I could explain it. But it's not like I felt like a knot, but it was just the breast tissue just felt a little bit more firm. And that's when I freaked out, and my mind really just got the best of me, and I said, no, I'm calling first thing tomorrow my primary care provider, because she's amazing, has been since day one, since I've seen her. And this just doesn't feel right. So right away I called her. I told her what was going on, and she said, okay, come in right away. So that same week, I had an appointment with her. She gave me a breast exam, and she agreed. She said, it does not feel like a lump, but the breast tissue does definitely feel very dense. You have dense breast tissue, which in my other breast exams, she'd never had any concerns about it, and she never felt that my breast tissue was that dense. So she said that it did change a bit, which, you know, at the time she wasn't trying to freak me out, but she did say, you know, which is normal. Breast tissue changes all the time. But let's get you in to get another mammogram and an ultrasound, because I want to make sure that it's nothing. Okay, so this was the very beginning of July when I had when I did the mammogram and the ultrasound, which again, nothing alarming came up from the mammogram and the ultrasound when I went in the beginning of July. I remember leaving that appointment, and I was like, thank God, thank you. I'm so glad there's nothing serious going on, because again, nothing came up on that. And on my drive home from that mammogram and ultrasound appointment, I get a call, and they're like, well, we right away sent this obviously to your primary care doctor, but she had instructed that we should schedule a MRI just in case we're missing something with the mammogram and the ultrasound, because it can happen. There could be like a tumor or something there that is so small that the mammogram and the ultrasound isn't picking up. Because I had the symptoms of the nipple discharge, and now the symptom of pain, she says she definitely really wanted to make sure, that we were catching something if there was something there early. And you know, just to cross off everything on the list, just to make us both feel better. So I was scheduled an MRI, and I have the date here. I received the MRI on 7/16/21, which it did show, that MRI did end up showing a nodule on my right breast, and it was directly behind the nipple. So that was all that they saw that was concerning from there. I'm reading through my lymph nodes did seem, oh, that was another thing too. I guess I should back up a little bit. I did receive my COVID vaccine back in May. I had received my final dose, and around that time when I was feeling under my armpits, it did feel like a little firm, I guess I should say, on the side where I got the vaccine. And that was actually one of the symptoms that they said happens with, they were seeing a lot of cases of women coming in to get breast exams and mammograms and ultrasounds and stuff, because after they received the COVID vaccine, lymph nodes were beginning to swell around the breast area, and women were freaking out thinking they were finding lumps. And so that was another thing too, that I did feel like something was off on this side. And so that's why they did order the mammogram ultrasound, but then the MRI, and they did check my lymph nodes, which they said they just seemed a little swollen. They weren't too concerned about the lymph nodes. They didn't look too abnormal, other than the normal swelling that they have been seeing with women that had received the COVID vaccine. So yeah, so that was my MRI on 7/16/21. At that point, they're saying, okay, now we need to do a biopsy, because the biopsy is going to tell us what this lump is. My biopsy, I'm gonna look at my calendar because I don't want to lie, but I'm pretty sure my biopsy was done on July 30th. No, yes, I was right. My biopsy was done July 30th. So it was Friday, July 30th. I went in to get my biopsy done, which was a whole event in itself. It was very scary. They first did the biopsy on my lymph nodes with the ultrasound. So they lay you down, like, you know, just to get like a normal ultrasound. And then my hands, I have my hands up, but they have nurses on both sides holding your hands back so that you don't kind of jump or whatever, but they're holding your hand and they're holding your hand with one of their hands, and then they're rubbing you on with their other hands. That they were so warm and comforting, and you know, they know that you're going through a very scary time, and you know, with COVID going on, you're not allowed to have any visitors or anybody back there with you to hold your hand. But they did an amazing job. I'm gonna get emotional. They did an amazing job, the nurses there, because they really took care of you. They really make sure that you weren't as scared, and they did everything they could do to make you feel as comfortable as you can be in that situation. So shout out to them. So they couldn't reach all the way in with behind my nipple doing the ultrasound way. They grabbed some sample, but she said she felt that it wasn't enough. She was afraid that there was two options. We could have just left it at that and hoped for the best and hoped it was enough sample, or the lab was going to come back and say there wasn't enough sample and that I need to go back in there and do it again, but do it again through the MRI. So she gave me the option to either hope for the best and just send me on my way, or I was already there. I was already dressed. The machine was available. She said I could just get you into the MRI and start the biopsy process all over for the lump behind your nipple, and do it the MRI way, which it is. She said, I'm not gonna lie, it is very uncomfortable. It is a little bit more scary. The machine's loud. There's a lot going on. It does tend to be a little bit more painful because you're just in a very uncomfortable, vulnerable position the whole entire time, the way you have to lay on your stomach. So it's just a bigger ordeal. But she said it's up to you if you just feel like you need a break mentally and physically and just want to come back and do that later on, or just do it now. And I said, you know what, just do it now. I want to get it done and over with. I don't want to come back to do this all over again. I'm here, might as well get it done. So got the biopsy the MRI way, and then it was kind of scary because I did have quite a bit of bleeding because they had to dig really deep, and it was just a mess, and it was a day. It was really a day, but thankfully we got through it. And I came home and I was able to rest for the rest of the weekend. And my kids happened to be, it was their summer vacation, and my kids happened to be in California with their grandparents that week. So I was able to rest, come home and rest and not worry about worrying the kids, or, you know, not being able to care for them right, just because I was going to be sore. And to add, the whole entire time I'm going through this, so the whole entire month of July, basically, I didn't say a word to anybody. The only person that knew what I was going through was my husband. And I didn't want to worry anybody. I didn't want to freak out my family and my friends, because it could have been nothing, and I didn't want to worry them over nothing. But also for myself, I had to put myself in a good mental space to be able to deal with everything that I was going through. I don't think I was going to be able to handle, you know, the phone calls and the text messages and the million questions when I didn't even have answers myself. So I I hate to sound selfish, but I also did it for myself. I wanted to deal with it on my own, and I wanted to wait until I had the news of what it was before I started to say anything. And I don't regret it. I'm glad I did it that way. I do not regret it at all. I had amazing support with my husband, and the whole entire time he's been amazing. So that was all I needed at the time. And if it sounds selfish, then it sounds selfish, but that's just what I needed at the time. So August 3rd is when I got the phone call. So right away, that following week is when I got the phone call. And I will never forget when I got the phone call. Thank God at the time Joe was working a different schedule than what he was working now. And he was off the day that I got the call. It was a Wednesday when I got the call. I'm sorry, it was a Tuesday. And so he was home and we took it in together. I cried, obviously. He cried, we hugged each other, and we just said, okay, it is what it is, and we will get through this. And that's the day that I did tell my parents. Later on that afternoon, I did make that phone call because I was going to wait to kind of pull myself together, and I was going to wait to process everything mentally. I was going to wait until I had more answers, because at that time, that day when I got the phone call of my diagnosis, I didn't have a game plan yet. I didn't know how serious it was, if it had spread. Well, they were able to tell me that there was the lymph nodes that they tested negative, that there was nothing there in the lymph nodes at that time. So that was good. They were able to tell me that it was a stage 1, so it was caught very early. What they were able to tell me was that it was hormone positive. And so what my primary care doctor did for me was she got the best of people that she could find. And sorry, Joe's texting me. And he's such a brat. He made me lose my train of thought. So my primary care doctor, she got an amazing oncologist lined up for me, and an amazing surgeon lined up for me. She did that on her own, and she really didn't have to do that. Usually you kind of find your own doctors, but she went out and she got them lined up for me. She basically said, I'm calling you to give you your diagnosis, and I'm going to, as soon as I get off the phone with them, I'm going to give them a call to let them know that I let you know. And then they're going to call you to set up the appointment for your first consultation with them. So she did it all for me. So I got off the phone with her and processed everything. And sure enough, later that day, they gave me a call and they gave me my appointment, which was set up for that same week. So that's that Friday. We had an appointment with the oncologist, which she said that surgery was 100% definitely on the table. Chemotherapy was still up in the air at that point. That was something that she said she wouldn't be able to tell me for sure until after I spoke with the surgeon, and then we had a surgery plan and all that. So what she was able to tell me was that I was PR positive and HER2 negative. I'm very fortunate that we did end up catching it early. Very fortunate that I have an amazing team of doctors that, have supported me and have been here for me since day one. So when I met with my surgeon, I think it was a week later or 2 weeks later, I met with the surgeon. She's amazing, very gentle hands, very comforting. And she let me know that everything was going to be okay. And we decided on a double mastectomy. And I decided that I did want to have reconstruction surgery. So that was the only thing that I did have to find on my own. But my surgeon she pointed me in the right direction. Basically, she already had a list of doctors that she recommended and had worked with in the past, and she said that I would just need to do my research on them and choose one and call and see if they're available for a consultation. So I did do some research on the list that she gave me. There was one that popped out to me because he specializes in reconstruction, and he's helped a lot of women with breast cancer. And he just immediately, I just had a soft spot for him in my heart. And so that's who I called, and I was very lucky to be able to get a consultation with him as well. Within it was like the following week is when I saw him, after I saw the first breast surgeon. So everything kind of just fell into place. July of 2021 was all about the testings, and it was all about the physical exams, the mammograms, the ultrasounds, the MRIs, and then the ultrasound biopsy, and then the ultrasound or MRI biopsy. So July was all about the testings. August was when I got my diagnosis, and August is when I started to put my team together with the help of my primary care provider. And so that was August. And then September, I spent just time processing everything. September is when I actually shared the news. I made it official on Facebook, and it's where I was able to share my diagnosis of what I was dealing with. And I did it because I believe in the power of prayer, and I needed all the prayers I could get. So and it's just an easier way to me to stay in contact with friends and family, especially everybody that lives in California that that aren't in Arizona. So yeah, September is when I made it public that I have breast cancer, and spent the month just trying to process and plan because my surgery date was set for October 6th of 2021. So just did a lot of praying, processing, and planning for the month of September. And October 6th, I received my double mastectomy, and then at the same time, my plastic surgeon came in and placed tissue expanders, and those tissue expanders have been in place since then. And what it is once I was healed from the double mastectomy, which took a good, I think it was like 6 weeks, close to 6 weeks or so. Once I was healed from that, then my plastic surgeon has been able to fill the tissue expanders little by little. I get 50 cc's once a week. And so that's what we've been doing since November. And so now, so to back up a little bit, after I had the double mastectomy surgery, they send out everything that they took out, and then they did take lymph nodes. The results of that took a while. It took a while. I got the result. My oncologist got the results finally. It was like at the end of November. And then I guess to also add and to also mention, they did send my sample to pathology to do a genetics testing on it. And mine, of course, came back of a variant of unknown significance detected. So basically they don't know. They don't know if it is genetics, if I carry the gene, which I was really, really hoping to know because I have a daughter. And if I carry the gene, then the likelihood of her to carry it is high. So, I wanted her to, as she gets older and goes into puberty and starts to plan for her family and stuff and her future, I wanted this information, but unfortunately I don't have it. My type of samples are put into like their system, so it's kept on file forever. And as time goes on and science develops, they'll still be like analyzing my samples and everything with time. And if something pops up and more information with science becomes available, then they will get a hold of me and let me know exactly what they know. But until then, I'm just left with they don't know if I carry the gene or not. So regardless, my daughter is still going to take care of herself and be on top of her exams and mammograms and everything because, you know, because of her mother's history now. So, but no, they took 3 lymph nodes and all 3 came back negative for carcinoma. The cancer side, they did find obviously the invasive ductal carcinoma. At the time we thought it was grade 1, but after surgery they rated me at a grade 2 because of the size of the tumor. So the tumor ended up being a little bit bigger than what they had originally thought, even after the mammogram, ultrasound, and MRI, which we know things can change. They told us that since the beginning. So I went from stage 1 to stage 2 because of the size of the tumor. But I did have clear margins, which means everything that they tested, all the samples that they took outside of the breast. So they took samples of like my chest wall to make sure that it didn't metastasize into the chest, and all those came back clear, which was great news. So very good outcome of my surgery. And I did have a type of DCIS, which is the carcinoma that's in the ducts. And also to add, because my tumor was right behind my nipple, I did decide for them to take my nipples because of they couldn't guarantee that there was no cancer cells in the nipple, because the nipple tissue is a completely different type of tissue than your breast tissue. So if they would have left the nipples, there was a chance that some cancer cells might have been left on that, and I did not want to take any risk at all whatsoever. So I said, no, I'm fine with you taking it. Just take them. I don't care. After my surgery, I had to wait to see what my oncotype score was going to be, because the oncotype score is what was going to determine if I needed chemo after surgery. Now my oncotype score came back at a 16. But because of the size of the tumor, my doctor said she was shocked when she saw the number 16. She said she was very surprised because she thought for sure my oncotype was going to be much higher. And she was already planning out my chemo treatment, assuming that my oncotype was going to be high. So that kind of, surprised me a little bit. She said with it being at a 16, and because of my age, at the time of my diagnosis, I was 33. She said because of my age and because of the size of the tumor, she really recommended that I would go ahead and start chemotherapy. The type of chemo that I did was TC, is what I did. With doing the TC chemo, I was going to reduce the risk of recurrence. We're trying to make sure that this cancer doesn't come back. If it comes back, it's going to come back in my bones. It can come back in my brain. It can come back, anywhere else on my body. And those type of cancers, you're automatically going to be stage 4. And so with her recommending for me to do this chemo, we are reducing the risk by a good chunk. So she told me that I was kind of like right in the middle. My number, just looking at it on paper, the number 16, she said, I'm basically in the middle. I could have opted out and said, no, you know what, I'll take the risk. It's like 4% chance of it to come back. If I did no chemo. If I do the chemo, it would change it to like a 1% or less chance of it coming back if I did the chemo. So I said, I said I would do it. I said I'm gonna do it because which it took me a few days to come to that decision. It wasn't something that I decided overnight. It took me a few days to come to that decision. But basically I just thought, you know, I'm gonna fight this with everything that I have. I'm gonna fight this because I have young kids that need me. My babies are turning, our girl's 9 today. Today's her birthday. And Joe is going to be 11 in April. My babies still need me. I have my big old baby back there, Belle. She's trying to get comfortable on the pillow back there. And my husband needs me still. And I'm not going to accept for me to leave this world and him try to bring a new stepmom to my kids. Not going to happen. I'm the only one he gets for the rest of his life. So I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight. And that's what I did. Excuse me. So I ended up I started my chemo in December 8th was my first round of chemo. I did 4 rounds total. And they were 1 round every 3 weeks. I finally finished and I got to ring the chemo bell because I crossed the finish line, and I finally did that a week ago. A week and 4 days ago, I think. I don't know. I have really bad chemo brain fog. So anyways, those videos are to come because that's a whole other explanation of all that. Even with surgery, I can really go into more details with all of that, but this has been my journey. This was my diagnosis. This is what I went through. So last year was tough and started this year tough, but here I am. I freaking fought. I made it. I survived. So there is hope. There is I also did get a CT scan. I forgot to mention that. Right before surgery, I did go in for a CT scan. I did that August 24th was when I got a CT scan. And they just wanted to make sure. It was a CT chest, abdomen, and pelvis with contrast. They wanted to make sure that they wouldn't find any other signs of cancer anywhere else before going into surgery. So I thought that was great because I have joined some support groups and they talk about how there's a lot of women out there that don't get any type of other testing, which I think is complete bullshit. Like, that's, yeah, a whole other conversation. But yeah, so to wrap this up, I want to say, check your boobies, men and women, but especially women, because obviously it's mostly women that get the breast cancer. But pay attention to your body, listen to your body. Listen to your gut. If you feel that something's not right, do something about it. Don't just stay quiet. Don't make excuses for yourself because you only have one life to live. So do what you got to do and listen to your body, feel around on your boobies. And if you notice any type of change, make that appointment. It starts with just one phone call to your primary care doctor. If you don't have a primary care doctor, get one. Just take care of yourself. Listen to your body and advocate for yourself. If you find a doctor and they brush you off and they're not listening to you, find another one. Like, you have that right to advocate for yourself. There are some really good doctors out there. I'm lucky enough to have found an amazing doctor, and she fought for me and with me throughout this whole entire time. She's called on her personal time to check up on me. She gets her assistant to call me to make sure that I'm keeping up with my appointments and everything. Just pay attention to your body and listen to your body and advocate for yourself and get the exams that you need to get your mammograms, and spread the awareness to the other women in your family, your friends, and men, everybody. But yeah, just the biggest thing that I can say is just listen to your body, because that's what I did. I knew something wasn't right and I did something about it. And even though I had that space of a few years where I didn't do anything about it because I trusted that there was nothing there, when another thing changed, I made sure to say something about it. I immediately called my doctor once I started to get that pain. There was times where I was like, I'm probably just being dramatic. But I'm glad I was being dramatic, because that's how we caught it. So yeah. And if you do get to be initiated into this shitty Pink Sisters club, I'm sorry, but welcome. And you would be surprised how much things have changed, how much science has developed with breast cancer, how it's being treated and the outcome of it. And most of the time it's good. I know there's a lot of women out there that unfortunately it has spread, and they're dealing with it, you know, even they're having a really hard time with it, and their prognosis isn't very positive. But it breaks my heart, and it makes me emotional just to think about it. And in my support groups, when I read about other women and when they're having a more rough time, I feel horrible that all I could do is just pray for them. But again, I do believe in miracles. I do believe in the power of prayer. So I still pray for them. But if you can catch this early, and if you can, you know, see the signs and do something about it, then you're going to have a better outcome. So please, 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 please just listen to your body. Touch your boobs, touch your nipples, touch your armpits, because you want to make sure you're checking like your lymph nodes under your armpits. You want to make sure you're checking all around your chest, and you want to make sure behind the nipple, which is something that I never really did. I never really checked behind my nipple. And bigger than shit, that's where it was. I'll leave it at that, because yeah, I'm already at like almost an hour to this. So, but this is just, again, this has just been my experience. This is just my story of my diagnosis, and what I've been going through the past few months. But I can go more into detail with, you know, the surgery part of it and the chemo part of it and stuff. But yeah, so I'm done with chemo, and on to the next part. I will probably be on a type of hormone blocker for the rest of my life, or until I go into menopause, I should say, to prevent it, you know, trying to come back, because my tumor was hormone positive. It means that my ovaries are the ones that are producing the hormones. So basically my ovaries are the culprit of what culprit, whatever, you know what I mean. My ovaries are the assholes that created the cancer in my breast, is what I'm trying to say. And so we need to suppress that, so that they don't start to spew off hormones anywhere else and try to create a tumor anywhere else. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. Just like I said, just finished my chemo, and I will see my oncologist in a couple weeks, where we will start talking about the hormone treatment. And yeah, but the hard part's behind me. The worst part is behind me. Knock on wood. I'm gonna stay positive and stay and stick to that. So yeah, so like I said, advocate for yourself, check yourself, and stay positive. Stay positive is a big thing too. So yeah, so that's my story, and I hope it helps someone. And until next time, say bye, Belle. Are you being a sicko? Are you trying to pretend like you weren't caught? Oh, you're gonna play it off. Okay. Okay. Bye.